I'm the Vice President over Communications, and we work closely with actually several of the women on this call that will be our featured panel, and excited for the conversation today. So just to kind of get things going, I'd like to welcome everyone. Again, I apologize for a little bit of the delay here, but I promise it'll be worth your time. It's going to be a great conversation with Megan, Rittu, and Sanam this morning. We have three incredible women who have had a profound impact on the development of their teams at T-Mobile and really within the greater telecommunications industry. Welcome especially to our current and former consultants who support the select group at client sites across the United States and Canada. And in addition, welcome to many T-Mobile employees who have taken time out of their day to join our discussion. So specifically today, Meg, Rittu, Sanam, we're going to put a lot of focus in prioritizing yourself and being present while navigating your careers. Something super relevant, I think, to every single person on this call. So far, each of you has actually taken a great first step simply by being here today to prioritize yourself as you continue to grow and develop in the technology industry. To those who do not identify as a woman, thank you for being here as an ally. Your support is immeasurable, and we know each of you will have significant takeaways. Couple of quick reminders on behalf of the select group. We will be recording this session. We will send the recording out to all who registered once the recording becomes available this afternoon. We will also include a brief survey. I know this is a very survey heavy environment we're in, but your input and any feedback really is critical, especially to our experienced team as they continue to work to develop and enhance the experiences within each of our communities. As we progress through the conversation, we do encourage people to utilize the chat feature to comment and ask additional questions of Meg, Rittu, Sanam. We do plan to have a Q&A session at the end. And I do want to thank those who registered and have already submitted some questions. They're phenomenal. We've added them. We definitely plan to get to them, so it'll be exciting to start shopping. So in saying all of that, I did think it would be great if each of our members on the panel did introduce themselves. So Meg, maybe we could start with you, and if you could introduce yourself to the audience.
I think she's having technical difficulties.
Yeah. And by Meg, let's switch to Rittu.
So hi everyone, I'm Rittu Jewett. I've been at T-Mobile for 6 years now, and I'm currently responsible for leading the transformation of billing at T-Mobile. So pretty exciting stuff.
Awesome.
Hi everyone, I'm Sanam Mehta, 6 years just like Rittu at T-Mobile, and I am in the role of director overseeing and leading the promos, which is the promotion space at T-Mobile.
Awesome, thank you. Any chance Meg might be back up and running?
Well, I can see her thing because her conference room, I believe, kept crashing. And so just so everyone knows on the call, we're a WebEx shop at T-Mobile. So joining a Teams meeting via conferencing devices it presents a slight challenge for us. I can see she's trying to join. Let me ping her and see. She said it crashed again. Meg's our boss. She used to be at Sprint. I'm trying to, Meg, I hope you do you justice.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there she is. Go.
I guess the 9th time is the charm. Woohoo! So, hi to everyone on the bridge with us this morning. We're excited to join you for this conversation. I'm actually celebrating 25 years in telecom in August. I'm not sure how the heck that happened. I blinked one day and woke up and it had been like 20 years. So, and prior to that, I was in healthcare. I have a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old son. And so I've got a lot of experience in juggling this thing we call life. And I say life because work and home and everything, it's all a part of this big thing we call life. And hopefully our conversation today will be enlightening in terms of sharing ideas back and forth on how we can maximize life and how we can share some tips and tricks for having fun and fulfilling ourselves.
That's phenomenal. I appreciate that. Thank you for the introductions. And if nothing else, we're facing life today. Some good adversity, but we're overcoming it. So
What?
I really appreciate that everyone's here. And maybe a good spot to actually start with too. I thought we could start with you, and you've got a great, unique journey. I thought we could start with you and hear a little bit about your journey, navigating life, career, and all the things.
Yeah. You know what I'm gonna do, Lewis?
I think they just crashed as well. Rittu, are you back? There you are. You're on mute.
Yes.
Yeah, we were, could we start with your story, Rittu? Could you share a little bit about your life growing up and how you evolved into school and into career?
It keeps muting. Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Yes. Okay. All right. So how did things start out for me? So my parents are immigrants from India, and I grew up in a very traditional Indian household. I would say that it's not so traditional anymore, but growing up, it was very much so. So I'm first generation born here. My mom never had a job. Growing up, her job was to take care of us. My dad was the person who took care of the family and worked multiple jobs coming to this country. And I remember from a very young age seeing that while I had no disrespect for my mom, I just knew that I did not want to have the same path as her. And I wanted to provide for myself. I wanted to be independent. And so I think just, as I grew up and I saw, I mean, it was a very common thing within our culture, but I just was like, I just want more for myself. And I remember just experiencing challenges with my father because I wanted to work at a very young age. And he was like, oh no, like my daughter doesn't need to work. My daughter just needs to go to school. And so it was very much like that throughout my life. And then when I got to college, and I was very obedient and I followed all the rules. But then when I got to college, life started to change for me. And I definitely started to become more independent and exert my own influence on my family. And I would say I definitely put them through the ringer. But I just, and out of that, I became quite strong, like just the motivation to become something myself. And I was like, and I have 2 daughters now myself, and I continually try to inspire them to be independent and have their own path and not be reliant upon anybody else. It's great to have family and friends that help you, but it's super, super important to drive a path for yourself and to have ambition and drive and reach where you want to reach. And that was really what set me in motion at a very young age. And I just remember it was just like monumental moments throughout my life where I was like, I am going to do something, to become something, to lead something, to inspire someone. And I hope that that's some of what I do here today. I can't hear. Can you hear?
No.
I can, yeah.
Okay, oh, there you go.
That one was on me. So no, appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing your story a little bit and kind of your upbringing. So kind of getting into the meat of this a little bit. So for all in the audience, we've got a subset of questions. We thought this would create great dialogue. We're going to start with a member on the panel, but then all can kind of chime in. So Rittu and Sinan, everyone can kind of chime in and we'll sort of rotate through. So that's kind of the format here. So with that, we'll start with you, Meg. We thought you'd be a great start. So looking at the success that you've had, certainly where you've gotten in your career, family, it wouldn't be a bridge too far for anyone to look at that and say, wow, you have it all. And so there's this question that kind of emerges of that says, hey, there's a sense that you have it all. How do you have it all? So I'll start with there. How do you have it all?
My favorite quote is you can have it all, but not all at the same time. So keep that in mind and make sure that you're in tune with yourself and your own priorities. Think about what your goals really are and what brings you the most joy, and write it down. Make sure that you're clear with yourself and you're committed to giving yourself joy first and foremost, because if you don't fill your own bucket, nobody else is going to. And the more that you load on your plate, as you add family, as you add additional career responsibilities, leadership responsibilities, external things with your communities, all of that is going to feel like load, and it's going to feel like you're putting more and more pressure on yourself unless you're starting with joy. So start with joy, start with filling yourself up first. Self-care is not selfish, it's critical. So bring yourself joy first. Make sure you get in tune with what that is, and then go ahead and layer things on. But as much as possible, make sure that all of those are adding joy or adding something to you that's enriching you as well. Don't just do something because you think it's going to get you to X place. Make sure that you've got a really good connection with your why and everything that you're doing. The other quote that I love when you're thinking about all the things that you're juggling in life. So sometimes I think that I've got 20 balls in the air at once, and I need to distinguish real time between the glass balls and the rubber balls. So the glass balls are those that if I happen to drop them, they're going to shatter and break and there's no getting them back. But some of the things that I'm juggling in life are rubber balls. And if they drop, they're going to bounce, and I can catch them on the rebound. So I try to prioritize the glass balls and those things that are going to shatter first, and then get back to the rubber balls. And that helps me from feeling like I have to do everything. And it especially helps me from feeling like I have to do everything all at once. So that's a little bit of the secret to how I balance things and how I approach things, and still give myself the feeling of having it all, but not all at once.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with Meg here. One of the thoughts that's going through my mind as Meg, you were talking is, first off, being at peace with where you're at, right? And that peace comes from finding what brings you joy. So find those moments where you're able to relax and rejuvenate yourself so that, your bucket is filled. The other analogy that I personally love is looking at various categories in your life, areas of categories in your life that you want to focus on, whether it be spiritual, whether it be career, whether it be family, and looking at it as a credit or debit, right, into those areas. And at the end of the day, really looking at, and I heard Matthew McConaughey do the Houston, Texas talk, right, at the university, and that really resonated with me. Which was, at the end of the day, when you're feeling overwhelmed, look at where you stand in those various categories that are important to you, and figure out where you're running a debit, right? And if you're in a debit situation, then make up for it during that week so that you don't pile up on that debit and ultimately reach a bankruptcy situation. Right. So that's another way to look at it. Like Meg mentioned, glass balls and rubber balls, exactly the same concept. But at the end of the day, if you're just looking at it rationally, then you can do something about it, a quick follow on to it. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share. Rittu, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I resonate with what both of them said. I love that you said you can have it all, but not at the same time. I think that throughout my career, and I think that this is really important as you grow in your career and want more out of your career, there are times where you just can't. And, because there's something going on in life that is taking precedence. And it is like this debit credit situation, it's a balancing act, and it's not a linear path to where you want to go. There's lots of twists and turns. If you've ever been on a hike and you know about switchbacks, there's lots of switchbacks in your career journey. And you just got to be okay with it. And I can tell you there are times where I'm like, I have 4 kids, and I'm like, this I'm like the worst mom, or I'm not doing well at work, or I'm doing great at both. And it's just like, you just gotta give and take. There's things in life that take precedence, and it might be work and it might be life, and you just balance it throughout your career. And you make the choices that bring you joy.
That's great, Rittu. We're gonna actually stay on you for this next question. So, what tips can you share with the group today on making life easier as a working parent?
As a working parent, laugh at yourself. I mean, there's things I can tell you, like sometimes my life is, I leave here, I gotta get a kid to practice, I gotta make dinner, my significant other might be traveling, I have to get them in showers, they gotta do homework. It's not fun for them or for me. So I would just say, like, be able to like laugh and when you get to the weekend, like have fun, do something fun together. So it doesn't have to be so mundane and routine and they don't look at you like the drill sergeant. But it's true. You just gotta be able to do what you need to do in the way that is authentic to you to get through life. And that does take priority, I'm very open with sharing when I have to be with my kids or I have something going on at home, and it takes priority. And you just got to set boundaries for yourself. And so I would say set boundaries and be okay with sometimes not doing well in either location. And then you get back up in the morning and you start a new day.
I couldn't agree more. The same madness continues in my home as well, right? It's a constant juggle. I think what really helps me, if there was one tip, is just prioritize rigorously and plan, right? Being proactive about what you can do over the course of the week. Take some time on weekends. Like, I know many professionals actually spend time before they jump into the week, they plan out what that week looks like. Make sure you're also prioritizing your home, right? Home priorities. You're also prioritizing having fun. It's all coming out of a single consolidated calendar because time is equally, I would say time is fixed, but you just need to spread it across things. So with me personally, planning really has helped me. And then take a pause and recognize sometimes you might be very off balance, and then try to do some things, again, going back to the previous point, that brings you joy so that your bucket is full and then you can get going again. I think that's the other thing I would add from the perspective of, if you're in a leadership position or you're a manager, new manager, make sure you're supporting your people as well, right? Because there are a lot of working parents on your team. Make sure you're having the conversation, being flexible about their time, because we are in a different way of operating, especially coming out of COVID. So make sure you're being supportive of that, right? That just makes it so much easier. Like, what I do is I get off early, spend time with my family, with my kid, and then hop back on at night, right, to catch up. And it's perfectly fine as long as you're communicating, right? And communicating is very critical. So keep those channels open. Those would be the two tips that I would share.
Sanam, real quick before we move on, you referenced planning, and I was just thinking, we have an ERG focused on parents and caregivers. There was a big focus not long ago in one of the sessions around planning. And I was wondering if you had anything that you could share with the group, something that's just, maybe it's that one thing that's important and creates continuity between your family and work. Is it a family calendar, or, I don't want to spit too many ideas here, but is there something maybe you utilize, a tool or something that just helps create some of that continuity and gives you sanity?
Yeah, so I love an app called Any List. Again, it's just a basic list app. It's shared with my husband. And so, we put our to-dos in there, we put our grocery list. The moment something we run out of something, one of us adds it in. And so we share that. And I think it works great, right? Whenever we step out of the house, we've got one list we're operating off. When we're done with that to-do, we just scratch it off. Has worked like a charm for me. The other thing we do is our calendars are shared as well. So my home calendar, if there's an appointment coming up, I will share it with my work calendar. It shows up, so I know that, I have to attend to it at some point. Color coding helps too. I know these are just basics, but they are lifesavers in today's world. I can't imagine working with a paper sheet and carrying it everywhere if I were to get this organized. So technology is a blessing.
That's awesome. I like that a lot. I tried to integrate a few more things kind of even in my life, and somehow I'm always still missing something important on the family calendar. So I've got to get better. So I appreciate that. So Sanam, we'll stay on you for this next question, have you kind of kick us off. But what's maybe the most important gift you believe you can give others?
That's a good one. One of the things I have struggled with as a woman is, am I giving enough time to my kid, right? Am I actually, because I look at moms that are not working, I look at folks that have less on their plate, and sometimes it makes me feel I'm probably not giving my kid enough. And over the years, I've come to the realization it's not about how much you give, it's about the quality of time. Are you actually listening intently when your kid is talking? Are you actually looking into their eye and having that conversation? Do they feel you're present? You'll notice kids saying, listen, listen, listen. And sometimes I wonder why is he saying listen so many times? And I caught myself not looking him in the eye and saying, hey, I'm here and present. So I would say the biggest gift you can give anyone, and I'm taking an example of my son here, but is listening and most attentively. If you can listen to someone, look in their eye, that's the biggest gift you could give them.
I would say patience for me, whether it be towards my kids, towards my significant other, towards my boss, towards my peers, towards my employees. Patience is something that I think is a gift that I can offer, because I tend to get impatient very quickly, and it is a challenge for me at times, and it leads into frustration, and I need to just be a little bit more patient sometimes, and with my expectations of others, with my expectations of myself, all of this leads to impatience for me somehow exhibiting itself towards many. But most importantly, my kids. And I think a giant gift I can offer them is patience. Meg,
Those were two.
what would your gift be? Your greatest gift?
Are you asking me?
Meg.
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, let's turn it around on Peter. I like the fact he was going to volunteer.
Yeah.
What's your greatest gift, Peter?
I was about to pivot to you. I was actually going to have a follow-up question for Rittu if Meg, wasn't going to add anything else on. I agree with the undivided time. I have 3 kids, so the patience, undivided time. Unfortunately, my team saw my daughter yell at me yesterday because we were going to be late for an end-of-year soccer party, and I was actually the coach, so that was kind of embarrassing. But that was her priority, and so I then prioritized it right then, and my team was very gracious. Meg, I'll defer to you. Any maybe last tips?
The only thing I would add on there is everyone knows how busy you are. Everyone knows you're busy, right? You don't have to tell them. Just give them your undivided attention, because it means, like, if you just give someone and you're very present with them, it warms their heart like no other, because they absolutely know you could be doing 100 other things. And so when you're present and you're enthusiastic and you're really listening and focused on that person, you create a connection with them that you can't put a price tag on, whether that's your family, whether that's your coworkers, whether that's your boss, it doesn't matter who it is. Just create those connections and leave that lasting impression by giving that focus part of yourself to them.
That's awesome. Rittu, I maybe had one quick follow-up. I think the undivided time and the being present, while very hard, I'm going to purely speculate here, but most of the group could probably relate to that. And they're like, okay, I get it. I pull out from behind my desk, I sit, I make eye contact. Rittu, you had mentioned patience, and I think maybe that one's a bit more, I guess, farther from the chest. Do you have any suggestions? I mean, I think everyone on this call probably is in a high stress job. You got multiple kids. Do you have any suggestions on maybe how you kind of bring it down a little bit so that you're in a better state of mind to be present, to have that undivided time?
Yeah, so first thing I'll say is, like everyone on this call, I'm on a continual path of learning myself. And so I have not mastered any of these skills by any means. I would say just things that I've learned along the way is perhaps to just step back and before you're going to say what you're going to say. I don't know if you guys can sense this for me, but I'm very off the cuff. I speak with my mind, and like whatever comes to my head comes out of my mouth. And so I think that is a particular area of focus for myself, is to maybe hold and pause and think before I immediately respond. Now, I do want to recognize that I think that is also a strength of mine, that I am able to do that. But at the same time, when it comes to patience and when it comes to perhaps teaching a different path or having more with my kids, I definitely have to think before I speak and listen and pause. And so pausing is a big one, counting to 10, walking away, maybe writing something down and not sending it until 24 hours later, and see if it still resonates. Those are all things that I've used in order to help myself. And sometimes I will just walk away from my kids because I know for them and for me, it's not going to be a good situation. So I'm out. And then I'll come back when I can be a little bit more calm.
Hey, ladies, I don't know if it's just me, but we can or at least I can just see your elbows. And you have gorgeous elbows, but can you scoot back a little bit on the table?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I can really just see your hand.
Oh, you can't, it's showing us as like the whole thing. Can you see me now?
Is it just me?
No, you're accurate, Meg.
Oh, really? This whole time? Because in our we can see ourselves and we see the whole us.
Oh, I guess other people see you, so we're cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can see you now too.
And it's just Meg and I. We could always blame Alex Fisher. So next question. So
isn't it bad etiquette to have elbows on the table? That's funny.
Yeah, next question's for you, Meg. So in sort of your perfect day scenario, the day's going well, is there an exercise that helps bring clarity to your day, clarity around choices, clarity around thought? What's that sort of perfect day exercise scenario?
Sure. What I learned to do from my husband, who got his master's degree at the University of Montana, he had a particular professor who was focused on entrepreneurship. And this professor taught my husband the perfect day scenario. And back in my younger years, when I was trying to figure out how to maximize joy and how to get more done with less, my husband sat me down and said, hey, why don't you try this perfect day scenario? So I'm going to give it as a gift to all of you right now. So this is how you go through the exercise. You're not going to do it right now. You'll need to wait and do it later in the day when you can get into a comfortable position with an amazing beverage, because that's when you kind of loosen up and you can really get in touch with yourself. But what you're doing with the perfect day scenario is you're trying to get to the essence of what brings you joy and what you enjoy doing. So what I want you to take as a homework assignment from this is later today or later in the week, when you can carve out about an hour, get into a really comfortable position. There's no judgment here. You can be in a beanbag chair. You can be wherever the heck you want to be. And like I said, beverage of choice really helps because, again, you want to be as relaxed as humanly possible. Now, this isn't your 4 drinks in and you're trying to do perfect day scenario. That's going to give you a very different result. So try to stick to the first drink for this. I'm not getting too many chuckles there, so that's kind of
We're laughing.
yeah. I was expecting at least
Like adult beverages.
yeah. Again, no judgment. So if chocolate milk is your thing, you do chocolate milk. If coffee, I don't care. Wine, beer, anything's fair game. But try to get as relaxed as you can. When you start the perfect day scenario, you're actually going to want to close your eyes. So you probably don't want to be in a public place. You want to be someplace where you're comfortable, just closing your eyes and just really allowing yourself to kind of come down a level. And after you close your eyes, what I want you to do is once you're fully relaxed, is I want you to kind of leave your conscious brain to the side. So what I want you to do is just experience going through the motions of having a perfect day. So I want you to experience waking up in a perfect day. What does that look like for you? What do you hear? What do you see? What do you experience? What do you want to eat for breakfast? What does a perfect day look like for you? And I want you to literally experience going through the whole day. And I don't want you to open your eyes. I literally want you to just enjoy that experience in this really relaxed environment. You can continue to sip on your drink or whatnot, but I don't want you to open your eyes. I want you just to experience this. Then I want you to open your eyes, take another drink. I want you to re-experience it one more time. And then after you re-experience it the second time, then I want you to open your eyes and jot some notes. And what I want you to jot notes around is, again, what struck you that you saw, that you felt, that you heard, and particularly what struck you that you did. Because the more you can get in touch with what you did, like activity-wise in your perfect day, the more you can learn how to drive joy into your own life, because you can make little tweaks in your own life to add more of these things on a daily basis. So a couple of the ways that I personally use this, because by the way, I do this twice a year, every single year. The first way I've used it is at one point in my career, I thought I wanted to make a switch and be an entrepreneur. And so what I actually did after the perfect day scenario of kind of envisioning what it would be like to be an entrepreneur, I started a business on the side while still working full time. And it was a way for me to try out my perfect day and experience actually living it without completely leaving my current career. And I did that for 5 years. And then my perfect day continued to evolve and I ended up selling that business. And I never left telecom in that process. But it was a way for me to try some things out in a safe way and get in touch with how I could bring more joy to my life. And it really did bring me joy. The other way that my husband and I use this is we have what we call Knauth family planning. And this isn't birth control or kid planning. This is what are our joint family goals? And what we do with this is we each do the perfect day scenario, and then we come together and we talk about, hey, what's really important to us right now? And what do we think might be important to us in the future? And we literally use it to lay out our 6-month, 1 year, and 5-year plans. And we write them down and we share them. And because it's a shared goal that's written, I got to tell you that we're also hitting 25 years of marriage in July, and we don't miss. Like, we nail those goals. And in fact, we tend to accelerate them and go faster and do more as a couple and as a family because we talk this out and because we revisit the exercise every 6 months because things change, right? And you've got to have that open dialogue about how things are changing. Now, the first question I usually get is, do you involve your kids in this? This is hilarious. So the first time we tried to involve the kids in this, they were 11 and 12. My boys were major soccer players growing up. I won't bore you with that whole story. But nonetheless, about that time, there was a World Cup about to happen in Brazil. And so my boys thought, hey, this exercise is awesome. If we can get the Brazil World Cup added to the list, this will be the most amazing trip ever. Anyway, net, it was they got the point, but kind of took it to an extreme. So you as a parent kind of have to decide whether your kids are ready to participate or not. I can tell you that my 20-year-old came up to me over Memorial Weekend and said, "Hey, Mom, remember that perfect day exercise that you do all the time?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I think I'm ready to do it." And so he actually did it for the first time this weekend. And so I would challenge all of you with that if a 20-year-old can do this in college, all of you can do this as well. Again, it takes some time, and it's going to be uncomfortable at first because most of us want to just do our to-do lists. We just want to check stuff off, and we just want to focus on the here and now and the what has to get done. And you've really got to let the here and now and what you know right now has to get done. You've got to put that aside, because if you don't think big and you don't get in touch with what your inner child or your inner self really wants to do, you're going to wake up in 2 years and realize you really haven't gone very far. So the key to really kind of continually advancing and continually having it all, but not right now, is revisiting exercises like this and really thinking about your goals and objectives and what you want and what brings you joy.
That's awesome. Certainly try to give that a shot. I hope I have the patience for it. So let's move. You'd actually mentioned to-do lists, and that kind of runs with our next question. So Rittu, we're gonna pivot to you. So in some conversations with you guys over the past couple of weeks, it's been clear that you feel it's important that your to-do list should both include work and home items. So my question to you is, why do you believe it is so important that your to-do list does include work and home items? Why merge it together?
Well, because there's one of you, and one of you exists in both worlds. And so it is very, very important. It's kind of like capacity. When you think of capacity planning as a leader, I mean, whether it's business requests or things we need to get done from a technology perspective, there's one list of things because the capacity is constrained. And so when you think of yourself, it's very, very important that your entirety of what involves your life, work and personal, is all part of the same list, because your capacity goes to both. And if you only look at one blindsided without the other, you're going to constantly crash and start to fail. And so the only way to actually get things checked off that list is to have a holistic view into the things that impact you as a person, professionally and personally. I mean, I fundamentally strongly believe that.
That's awesome. Sanam, Meg, anything you guys would kind of add around the to-do list category? Or, I mean, I think Rittu nailed that one.
She nailed it.
All right, so moving to our last kind of planned question, and then we do have several to get into that came from the audience. But Sanam, we're gonna have you kind of wrap us up here. So why is prioritizing time for yourself so critical? Which has been kind of a theme through all of our discussion today, but why is prioritizing yourself so critical?
Yeah, I go back to what Meg said, which is, if your bucket is not full, what do you have to give to others, right? If you are constantly stressed, that stress rubs on others around you, right? So there has to be a way for you to re-energize yourself, recoup, so that you're able to give to others. That's the only way I can see working. And so, I have grown up in an Indian culture myself. All my life, we were taught to think about others. And so it was a very hard concept for me to get around to. But the more exposure, the more growth that I've had over the years, the more I've surrounded myself with great leaders and people, even outside of work. I've learned that at the end of the day, you will hit a bottom if you're not investing in yourself, whether it be in the areas of health, wellness, spirituality, work. You got to find how you're getting your joy. My way of relaxing is just turn on the music. I have an Indian singer that I'm a huge fan of. And that's, the moment I'm feeling that I'm not at peace with myself, I will turn on the music that calms me down. Going back to what Rittu was saying, patience, right? The moment I catch myself that I am losing my patience, I go back to the music and that just calms me down within 5 minutes. So I would say find what gives you joy. Sometimes you have to reflect because we are in such a world where we just going so fast, you don't have time to think. So slow down, think about what truly brings you joy and fill your buckets so you can pass it on to others.
And be okay with that. I would just say, like, be okay with that. It took me a long time to be okay with that. It takes a long time, but be okay with that.
I agree. So now kind of another exciting part. So the next set of questions, and I'll, Lee Wallace, if you can kind of help me with the time, just, be very aware of the time and what people have already committed to. But we've got a good subset that came in prior to the call when people were registering. So I'll dive right in. Maybe Meg, you could kind of start us off. So the first question that came in from the audience was, what advice relevant to being leaders in a male-dominated industry do you have? As female leaders yourselves, what advice do you have that's that you feel would be very relevant to being in a very male-dominated industry?
The advice I give everyone, whether male or female, but particularly to the females, is take risk. You're going to hold yourself back more than anyone else is. And by the way, women will hold themselves back almost 100 times more than men will. So what I typically see is a guy and a gal will both look at a job posting, and the guy will go, wow, I check 68% of the boxes here. I'm going to totally apply for this, and I'm going to rock on this new opportunity. And he is convinced he's going to get it. The woman will look at that same job posting and go, oh my goodness, I only check 70% of the boxes. I really need to add this to my personal development plan. And then maybe in a year or two, I'll be ready to apply for this role. Does this resonate with anyone? So
Yes.
Particularly with females, my coaching is get out of your own head and take risks, try. What do you really have to lose? So go for it.
Good advice. Rittu, Sanam, anything just from your perspectives, navigating your own careers, again, in a very male-dominated industry, anything that you would share with the group?
I personally would say yes. It goes along with what Meg is saying. Say yes. And it's okay to ask questions and use your voice. I think I've been in rooms before where I'm like, if I ask this question, is someone going to look at me? And it takes time and confidence to get to a place where you feel more and more comfortable doing that. But ask the questions you need to ask to help yourself and say yes and take a risk. And I totally agree with Meg in that if you do those things in a male-dominated world or profession, you can definitely start to progress your own self and shine. And so be okay being uncomfortable. It's hard, but just do it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The one thing I'll add is also declare your intent. Often as women, we don't do enough of that. We don't go out there and say, hey, this is really what I want, right? And so I will say that don't hesitate to declare your intent. Find the people who are going to help you get there, because you all need, you cannot get there on your own, number one. So find the people that are going to sponsor you. Find the people in the room where you're not able to speak up, who might be an ally, and work with them to make sure your voice is heard. Yeah, that's all I would add.
That's great. This next question's kind of in a similar vein, and I think it speaks a little bit to the allyship and advocacy. So, Rittu, maybe we'll start with you. And I want to make sure I get all this right. So as a male leader, so again, this is coming from someone in the audience, as a male leader who's passionate about helping women grow in our technology world, I'm curious to know what some of the best experiences you've had in your careers with male leaders. What did you learn from them?
I'm like,
You want me to jump in?
yeah, sure.
I've got a couple. So the first advice I give to male leaders is be conscious of, and to all leaders, is be conscious of life points. So what happens to a lot of young professionals is they tend to self-select out at life points. And what I mean by life points are getting married, having a baby, moving houses, spousal career change, losing a parent. These are all life points. Be really aware of your employees going through life points. And the very best leaders that I've ever worked for have been hyper aware of some of my life points. And a little known secret is that I almost became a stay-at-home mom. And my boss at the time, Bill McDonald, was so conscious of my life point and the fact I had just had a baby that when I came back from maternity, first of all, he had me come back before maternity leave was over and get me excited about a new project. That was huge, right? So just inviting me into lunch, just casual lunch with just a couple people, but pitching an idea, getting my juices going. So I had something to think about besides just, I'm going to miss my kid. Then when I came back, proactively arranged, and this is a guy doing this, by the way, arranged 4 lunches. I wasn't allowed to be by myself and overthink the fact that I was away from my kid for the first 2 weeks. And I thought that that was amazing on his part. And I've personally made it kind of my mission to be aware of my employees' life points and to make sure that I'm meeting them where they are. Because those are the times that, by the way, we personally are most likely to self-select out, and your employees are most likely to self-select out. But if you can help them through those life changes and kind of smooth the road for them a little bit, it's amazing what it does to you as an individual, both the person receiving as well as the person leading.
Yeah, those are really good ones, Meg. Empathy is a great one. I mean, showing empathy and humanity towards what your employees, I can say that male bosses that I've worked with that have really resonated with me and where I've learned something from them as they're empathetic and they recognize your experience and find value in that experience, whether it be outside of work and what you bring to the table, and that is all part of you, and being a sponsor of someone who has all of that. Those are great characteristics that I have had from some of my male and female, but particularly since this question is coming regarding a male leader, that is something that has really resonated with me through the years. It also instills loyalty in an employee when you have that.
Totally. I've had several male leaders because of whom I've been able to get to where I am today. And a couple of things I will say is, number one, a little encouragement goes a long way, right? As Meg said, there's a lot of self-doubt that women have. Again, I also want to put out there that please treat women equal, right? I don't think we want to give special treatment, but when you recognize the skills and the potential, a little encouragement can go a very long way. The other thing is sometimes others can see the strengths and have a vision for you. And that's what happened in my case. I got a little encouragement. I got a vision that was put out there for me that you can do it, you can get to this level. And I just went for it. That's a great way to encourage folks.
Thank you. So just kind of looking at time, there's a couple more here. There's 2 that really kind of jump out at me. So I want to try to hit these. And if we still have some time, I'll maybe circle back up. So the first one, and maybe if the spirit moves you, one of the 3, you jump in. But what advice would you give your younger self just entering the workforce?
I have one, learning. The more you can spend time learning, right? Even if it's 30 minutes reading through stuff, I think that has a cumulative effect over the years. And I wish I would have done more of that growing up.
I would say 2 things that I've learned is, curiosity, and having curiosity throughout your career enables you to be open-minded towards learning. new things and taking on a new path. And the other thing that I would tell myself when I was younger is that, I had always thought, I'm very black and white about a lot of things. And I thought that I was gonna like enter the workforce, I was gonna to dominate, it was gonna be like trajectory up, like I was going to own the world. I mean, I really did. And what I learned is that life happens and life plays a big part of what happens, and kind of what I talked about along the way about the switchbacks. Like I can't emphasize enough that a career journey is not linear. It is not a straight path up. There's so many enriching experiences to learn from those switchbacks. So my younger self had no idea about that, and I really, really couldn't emphasize that more.
So I was the opposite of Rittu, and I was the shy introvert. And in the early days, I wanted to sit in the back of the room or outside of the room if at all possible and just listen. And so my advice is sit in the front of the room, smile, and look like you own the place. Because guess what? You don't know, nobody else knows more than you do. So be bold and take those risks and get to know those people. It's an exciting ride.
Yeah, can I actually add one more thing? Because Meg just reminded me. Something I learned from a mentor is don't put things out to the universe about yourself that don't uplift you. And because they start to become a self-fulfilling truth when you're sitting in a meeting room saying, I'm not very technical. Well, guess what? Someone's going to leave the room and say, Rittu's not very technical. So don't say self-doubting things in a room full of others, only uplifting things about yourself.
Yeah, can I just make a recommendation there? There's this book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. I would highly recommend folks to read that, right, by Shad Helmstetter. And it's an amazing book that precisely talks about what Rittu just mentioned.
That's awesome. And just with like the last couple of minutes, because this last question that I think we'll have time for, it's sort of similar. I think the audience very much wants to hear from you guys. And I think you'll answer it. So how did you map out your career? How did you know you wanted to pursue telecommunications, technology, or just how did you kind of put the map together? Rittu, you've mentioned several times now, it wasn't linear, but maybe you could just kind of walk through how you kind of map this thing out.
Yeah. I didn't know I was going to end up here. I didn't know that I'd be in telecom. I didn't know I was going to be in technology. I have a business degree. So I guess I can't really say how I mapped it out, because quite honestly, I mean, I think that there's just fundamental underlying things that have driven me. And that is doing something where I feel like I make an impact, is something that personally drives me. Having ambition to do more and make an impact at a large company is something that resonates with me. So these are all things that, part of career growth is also being at the right place at the right time, not just solely your own personal skill set. And so I will say that, there are things that are going to present themselves in front of you that you have no idea about, and take a chance and see where it goes, and who knows where you're going to end up. Just have your fundamental traits that ground you and that are driving you to reach for more. Those are the things that can be applicable in any career.
Beautifully said. Yeah, I think that's resonated with me so much. I think the only thing I would add is take the risks, right? Sometimes opportunities come up. Don't say no. Just keep saying yes to it, and you'll find the path.
Yeah.
That's great. Meg, any maybe last words from your side?
Two things. I go back to perfect day. So Rittu and the switchbacks. You're gonna go on switchbacks. I don't care who you are, you're gonna have switchbacks. Keep revisiting yourself and stay in touch with yourself as you change, because you're gonna change. and that's exciting. Don't stop yourself from changing. Change is good. And I see a lot of young faces. So for anyone who hasn't selected their spouse yet, select your partner very carefully. I give this advice to absolutely everyone because life is a team sport, and make sure that you surround yourself with a great team that supports you and lifts you up, and that you do the same for them. Because none of us live this life by ourselves. So make sure that you take care of your team as well as taking care of yourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally agree. I think that's a great way to wrap. So we're right here at the top of the hour. Meg, Sine, and Rittu, I cannot thank you enough. I think this has been phenomenal. I think you've made a huge impact. And I know we at TSG, our consultants, certainly, anybody else that joined, certainly appreciate it. And for everybody on the call that joined, took time out of their day, hopefully it was impactful for you as well. And I thank you very much for joining. So thank everyone. Have a great Wednesday.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.